They call it black magic. They call it evil. But what if everything you thought you knew about voodoo was a lie? In this video, we're diving deep into the forbidden world of real African voodoo, from ancient rituals to modern truths, from blood-soaked revolutions to misunderstood healing. This is not a legend. This is not a movie. This is real. Hey everyone, today I'm taking you somewhere far beyond what you see in movies or read in travel blogs. This isn't just a story. It's a descent into one of the most mysterious, misunderstood, and feared belief systems in the world. Yes, I'm talking about voodoo. And trust me, it's not what you think. Most people picture creepy dolls with needles, wild dancing around bonfires, and mindless zombies. But the truth, it's much deeper and much darker. And it's still being practiced, not as ancient folklore, but as real-life rituals involving blood, spirits, and ancient gods, in villages where outsiders dare not enter. Where did it all begin? Voodoo, or Vodun, originated in West Africa, specifically in the regions of Benin, Togo, and parts of Nigeria. This is where the belief system was born, centuries before it reached Haiti and the Caribbean through the slave trade. And here's a jaw-dropper: voodoo has been an officially recognized religion in Benin since 1996. There are temples, priests, ritual schools, sacred festivals. Each January, thousands of followers and tourists gather to celebrate National Voodoo Day, where rituals are performed openly. And yes, some of them include animal sacrifices. Voodoo is not a secret here. It's part of life. Who are the Bokers, and why do even thieves fear them? In the West African tradition, Bokers are dark voodoo priests, feared not just for their rituals, but for their reputation. They don't work with gods. They deal with the dead, with spirits, with the Loa, mysterious supernatural beings believed to control life, death, luck, and misfortune. What Bokers do: cast curses or protective spells, call on the spirits of the dead, create zombies. Yes, actual rituals meant to enslave minds, and, surprisingly, they heal as well. According to local belief, a powerful Boker can trap your soul even after death. And if you steal from a Boker, you're not just risking revenge. You're risking being haunted for life. Why do people believe in voodoo? Because in these cultures, the spirit world is real. If someone gets sick, it's not just a virus, it's a spiritual punishment. A bad harvest, someone cursed you. Misfortune in love or work, a rival performed a ritual. Here, people don't go to psychologists. They go to a voodoo priest. They don't take medicine. They get a charm, a doll graveyard dust, or the blood of a rooster. What really happens in a voodoo ritual? I watched a documentary clip filmed with permission from a village elder. What I saw was unforgettable. The voodoo priest wore a wooden mask with horns and feathers. A goat was tied nearby, ready for sacrifice. Young men entered a trance, shouting in unknown languages, hitting their chests, eyes rolled back. The purpose? To open a gateway to the spirit world. The blood of the animal is poured on sacred earth, believed to be the home of the Loa spirit. The ritual feeds the spirit, and in return, the spirit helps the one who requested the ritual. It might be to bring back a lost lover, curse an enemy, or heal from a deadly disease. The forbidden side: zombies, child rituals, and what scientists refuse to believe. Welcome back. If you thought voodoo was just chants and candles, you're not ready for what comes next, because now we're diving into the most extreme and controversial parts of the voodoo world. Real-life zombies witnessed by scientists, chilling rituals involving children, and spiritual possessions so intense people believe it can kill. This isn't urban legend. These are documented cases, whispered stories, and forbidden knowledge, straight from the heart of West Africa and Haiti. The real zombie case that shocked Dr. Sletts start with the case of Clairvius Narcisse, the man who was declared dead in Haiti in 1962 and reappeared 18 years later. According to medical records, he was buried after being pronounced dead at a hospital in Des Chapelles. But in 1980, a man walked into his old village, alive, claiming to be Clairvius, and telling a story that still chills experts today. He said he had been drugged, buried, and dug up by a Boker voodoo priest. For years, he had been forced to work on a plantation as a zombie, a living slave with no will or memory. Western scientists investigated and found evidence of toxins, including tetrodotoxin, a chemical found in pufferfish which can mimic death. Could voodoo priests have perfected the use of this? Some say yes, others say it's impossible. But the body was real. And the man remembered everything. The secret ingredient, fear. Let me be clear. Voodoo zombies are not undead monsters. They're not what Hollywood shows us. They are living people, trapped in a mental fog controlled by fear, drugs, and spiritual manipulation. This is how deep voodoo goes. It's not just about magic. It's about psychological warfare, generations of belief, and the absolute power of the priest. And now, we get to the part no one likes to talk about: child rituals and spiritual sacrifice. In some remote communities, and I'm talking about ultra-rural, cut off from the world places, there are reports of rituals involving children. Let me be careful here. Most voodoo followers do not condone these acts, but certain radical sects, especially those mixed with animism and local tribal systems, have been linked to child blessings involving symbolic blood initiation ceremonies that include emotional trauma and, in rare, extreme cases, rumored sacrifices. NGOs and journalists have attempted to expose this, but villages close ranks. Outsiders are not welcome. Cameras get smashed. And sometimes even the police are too afraid to act, because when a priest says this child was chosen by the spirits, everyone listens. Possession. When the spirit takes over, possession in voodoo isn't metaphorical, it's literal. People, even children, are trained from a young age to enter a trance and allow a lower spirit to enter their body. They dance, scream, cry, or collapse. Their voices change. Sometimes their eyes roll back. And once possessed, they speak messages from the spirit world. To a Westerner, this may look like acting. To the believer, it's divine truth. One witness said, "She spoke in a voice I'd never heard. She told me secrets about my past that no one knew." It wasn't her. It was something else. Scientists have tried to study this, but many say it's beyond explanation. Brain scans show altered states, adrenaline spikes. But what causes the trance? What enters the mind? That's still unanswered. Inside the temple, voodoo alters sacred symbols and the truth behind the dalsake. So we've already talked about the zombies, the possessions, and the rituals people whisper about. But now, let's walk through something very few outsiders ever see: a real voodoo temple. And no, this is nothing like a tourist attraction. This is where the gods, the dead, and the living meet. Welcome to a world of bones, ash, feathers, and eyes watching you from every corner. The Temple of Spirits Houndfur, in West African and Haitian. Voodoo temples are called houndfur or peristyle in Haiti. From the outside, they often look like simple huts, clay walls, straw roofs. But step inside, and everything changes. The walls are painted with sacred vevs, geometric symbols representing different Loa spirits. They're hand-drawn in chalk, ash, or flour. These symbols aren't just for decoration. They're portals. Some vevs call on spirits of fertility. Others open the path for death, revenge, or healing. In the center, An altar covered in animal skulls, candles, some black, some white bowls of herbs, spices, dried blood, bottles of rum. Yes, the spirits drink. Cigars and dozens of small handmade dolls. Let's talk about those dolls. What voodoo dolls really are. It's not what you think. Forget the Hollywood version for a minute. In actual voodoo, dolls are not meant to cause pain. Most of them are used for healing, protection, and communication with the Loa. Here's what they actually do. A doll is created with natural materials: straw, fabric, beads, bones. The priest blesses the doll and charges it with the spirit of a person or deity. The doll is then used as a link to pray for healing, guidance, love, or justice. Yes, some Boker's dark priests can use dolls for curses. But even then, it's not about stabbing them with pins. It's about transferring spiritual energy. I found a case in Togo where a doll was buried with animal blood, and the person it was linked to fell gravely ill days later. Coincidence? Maybe. But locals say there are no coincidences in voodoo. The ritual of the Dulcin ritual I read about involved a grieving mother who lost her son. She came to a priest, who made a doll in her child's likeness. For 7 days, she cared for the doll, fed it, bathed it, spoke to it, and on the 8th day, she buried it under the roots of a sacred tree. They say it was her way to let go. They say the Loa carried her grief away with the earth. It's this strange balance. Voodoo isn't just fear. It's also love, connection, a language between people and gods, what you're not allowed to touch while visiting a private shrine in Benin through a contact I won't name. I learned the rules of survival inside a hound fur. Never cross the center altar without permission. It's where the spirits sit. Never touch a V with your hand. That's like desecrating holy ground. Don't photograph the dolls. Many believe their power is stolen by the camera. Never turn your back to the altar while speaking. It's considered disrespectful to the spirits. One mistake, and the priest may ask you to leave, or worse, not speak at all. Voodoo in revolt, blood, freedom, and the dark power behind Haiti's revolution. We've talked about voodoo temples, dolls, rituals. But now, let me tell you how voodoo changed the world. Literally, let's go back to the late 1700s to Haiti, when it was still a French colony called Saint-Domingue. It was the richest colony on earth, built on sugar, slaves, and unimaginable cruelty. The French treated African slaves as subhuman. No rights, no mercy. But deep in the mountains, something was brewing. A spiritual force, a rage, a revolution, and at the heart of it, voodoo. The night that started it, August 14th, 1791. In a place called Bois Caiman, dozens of enslaved Africans gathered in secret. They lit fires. They sang in forgotten tongues. They danced in circles. And then, a voodoo priest named Duddy Boukman performed a blood ritual. He called on the Loa of war and vengeance. He declared that the spirits would rise with them. A black pig was sacrificed. The people drank its blood, and by morning, the revolution had begun. Within weeks, plantations were burning. The slave revolt spread like wildfire. And for the first time in history, a slave colony fought back and won by 1804. Haiti became the first black republic in the world, and the first country to abolish slavery completely. The world was in shock. France was humiliated, and voodoo. It was forever stamped into history as a weapon of freedom, magic, or military. Now, here's where it gets terrifying. Not all of it was spiritual. Haitian revolutionaries used voodoo both spiritually and psychologically. They believed the Loa protected them in battle, that amulets could stop bullets, that curses could weaken their enemies. French soldiers were terrified. They didn't understand voodoo, and they didn't want to. when they saw fighters covered in blood and ash, eyes glowing with trance. They called it witchcraft. The fear worked, but the truth is, voodoo wasn't just about scaring the enemy. It gave the people hope, unity, a reason to believe they could win when no one else thought they could. It was a spiritual rebellion, not just a political one. Voodoo as resistance. For centuries after, voodoo was banned, hunted, and demonized by colonial powers and Christian missionaries. They burned temples, arrested priests. They told the world voodoo was evil because they feared its power, but still, it survived. In whispers, in rituals, in secret. Because voodoo wasn't just religion. It was resistance. It was a way for people who were beaten, enslaved, and erased to reclaim their power. Even today, voodoo is deeply tied to Haitian identity. You'll find veuves on walls, shrines in homes, and in times of crisis, people still turn to the spirits. The dark side of power, of course. Power corrupts. Some Haitian leaders used voodoo not for healing or resistance, but for control. Dictator Francois Papa Doc Duvalier in the 1960s openly declared himself a voodoo priest. He wore black robes, quoted Loa spirits in speeches, and used secret police dressed like death gods. His goal, to scare the people into obedience. It worked. He ruled with terror for years, and many believed he had made a pact with the dead. Was it political theater or something darker? No one really knows. And maybe no one wants to dot voodoo today, between fear, faith, and forgotten truth. So, what is voodoo? Really? After everything we've uncovered, from blood rituals to revolutions, from real-life zombies to spirit possessions, it's time to ask, where is voodoo now? Is it still practiced? Is it dangerous? Or is it just misunderstood? Let's dive into the modern face of a religion that refuses to die, no matter how many times the world tries to bury it. Voodoo and Catholicism. A strange marriage of the most fascinating things about modern voodoo is how it has blended with Christianity, especially in places like Haiti, Louisiana, and parts of Brazil and the Caribbean. In many Haitian homes, you'll find a crucifix on the wall, a Bible on the table, and a voodoo altar in the corner. How does that work? Well, in Haitian voodoo, many of the Loa spirits are paired with Catholic saints. For example, Urzuli, the goddess of love, is often associated with the Virgin Mary barren Samedi. The spirit of death wears a cross and is tied to Saint Martin. This blend allowed voodoo to survive colonization. Followers pretended to be Christian, but behind closed doors, they honored the old gods. To outsiders, this seems contradictory. But for practitioners, it's natural. Two worlds, one soul. How Hollywood got it wrong again. Let's be honest. When you hear voodoo, you probably imagine a creepy priest with glowing eyes, a doll full of needles, a woman screaming in trance, blood, bones, darkness. Thanks, Hollywood. Movies like The Skeleton Key, Serpent, and The Rainbow, Live and Let Die. They made voodoo a horror trope. But what they showed was mostly fiction, twisted for drama. Here's what they never tell you. Voodoo is about healing. Not just hexes. Most rituals are peaceful and involve music, dancing, and offerings. There are female priests, respected and powerful. Voodoo has ethical rules. Just like any religion is, there's a dark side. But that's true of everything. The real voodoo is a sacred system of connection between humans, nature, ancestors, and divine forces. Is voodoo dangerous? This is the question everyone wants answered, and here's the honest truth. It can be, but not for the reasons you think. It's not about curses flying through the air or demons crawling out of the floor. It's about belief. If someone believes they've been cursed, they might fall sick, become paranoid, or isolate themselves. It becomes a psychological trap. And if a boker, a dark priest, uses that belief to manipulate, threaten, or extort, that's where voodoo becomes dangerous. But if practiced with respect, knowledge, and tradition, voodoo is just as valid as any other spiritual path. It heals, it connects, it empowers. Final words. The soul of a religion after everything I've learned, all the interviews, books, videos, testimonies. Here's what I believe. Voodoo isn't evil. It's ancient. It's raw. It's human. It's the scream of a people who were enslaved, erased, and forgotten, but refused to be silenced. It's the whisper of ancestors, the rhythm of drums, the flicker of candlelight in a storm. It's not for tourists. It's not for trends. It's sacred. And real. So next time you hear the word voodoo, don't flinch. Get curious. Ask. Learn. Because the real horror isn't voodoo. It's how little we truly understand it. If this story gave you chills, opened your mind, or simply made you look at the world differently, don't forget to like, comment your thoughts, and share this truth with someone who still thinks voodoo is just witchcraft. Thank you for walking with me through shadows, myths, and magic. I'll see you in the next journey. Voodoo is not just spells and spirits. It's pain, power, memory, and magic, passed from generation to generation. Thank you for taking this journey with me into the soul of Africa's most mysterious belief system. If this opened your mind, gave you chills, or simply made you see the world differently, like, comment, and share it with someone who dares to know the truth. And remember, magic is real, but only if you believe.